Ethiopia's silent recognition of Somaliland. The issue of recognizing Somaliland, with which Ethiopia has close ties and with which it signed a memorandum of understanding on the acquisition of a seaport 2 years ago, has even become a topic of discussion at the United Nations Security Council. However, Ethiopia has not expressed its opposition or support to this issue, and the state media has not covered the news for days. Ethiopia has so far chosen to remain silent on Somaliland, which received statehood recognition from Israel last week. The issue of recognizing Somaliland, with which Ethiopia has close ties and with which it signed a memorandum of understanding on the acquisition of a seaport 2 years ago, has even become a topic of discussion at the United Nations Security Council. However, Ethiopia has not expressed its opposition or support for this issue, and state media has not covered the news for days. The BBC's media monitoring service, BBC Monitoring, has found that Ethiopian authorities, the government, and media outlets close to the government have chosen to remain silent on the issue. BBC Monitoring has found that state-run Ethiopian television, Ethiopian News Service, and FANA, which is close to the government, did not cover Israel's recognition of Somaliland, becoming the first country to do so. Additionally, Foreign Minister Gideon Timothy appeared before the House of People's Representatives on Tuesday, but failed to respond to a question on the Somaliland issue. Following Israel's recognition, the Somali president and foreign minister stated on their website that they had held discussions with the leaders and foreign ministers of neighboring countries by phone, urging them to express their support and condemn Israel's actions. There has been no word yet on whether the authorities have held talks with officials from Ethiopia, Somalia's main neighbor and a key country in the region. Egypt, Sudan, Djibouti, and Eritrea are countries that have publicly opposed the recognition of Israel, while the governments of Kenya and Uganda, including Ethiopia, have not yet announced their positions. However, it is worth noting that days before Israel recognized Somaliland as a state, Somali President Sheikh Hassan Mohamud paid a one-day visit to Addis Ababa. It is worth noting that Ethiopia signed a memorandum of understanding with Somaliland, which declared its independence in 2024 to gain access to its coastline and to provide recognition in return. As a result, it entered into a major conflict with Somalia, and an agreement was reached under the auspices of Turkey. The agreement signed by Ethiopia and Somalia in Ankara, Turkey, eases the diplomatic and security tensions that have been brewing in the Horn of Africa due to the document Ethiopia signed with Somaliland. The agreement with Somaliland, which is expected to be implemented within a year and will grant Ethiopia a 20-kilometer coastline, has also remained largely silent.